So Disney Infinity 3.0 came out, and it's fantastic. If you already have your base, like your Disney base, if you already had Disney Infinity 2.0 or 1.0.
I played like one. I was in a paintball match between Jack Sparrow and the big blue guy from Monsters Inc.
Oh, Sully. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
So, also from Uncharted.
Yeah. He's the same guy. Yeah, it'd be funny if it was the same voice actor. It's not, but it would be funny.
That would be funny.
Because it's John Goodman. John Goodman wasn't in Uncharted. But that came out so that now you have... It's as if I couldn't like this game more. Disney, cool. Marvel, really cool. Now 3.0, you have Star Wars. The only thing that irritates me is that they launched and... you have the Luke. You can get the Luke and Leia set. Mm-hmm. You can get some of their other stuff, but not until the end of the month. You can't get Vader or Chewbacca or Han Solo till the end of the month.
So they're rolling them out like
I don't
Amiibos.
understand why. I don't understand why, because you got that, and then the end of the month that, and then you've got a gap until December until you get Episode 7 stuff. Because right now, so you can get prequel stuff right now. Prequel stuff you can get.
Yay.
Clone the Star Wars Rebels.
Okay.
So Star Wars Rebels has some good stuff too. But I'm like, okay, maybe young Obi-Wan or Yoda, cool. But there's this gap where it's September 28th or so. You have a gap from then until December when the Episode 7 stuff comes out. So you have a gap between those two, and I don't really see a reason why. And it's confusing people, because it's not like you said staging where it's like, oh, it's this and then a little bit here and then a little bit. It's just this weird 1-2 punch and then chill out for a little while.
1-2 punch and then leave you to think about those punches.
Like what? Because personally I want to buy them all at the same time, so I'm going to buy them all at the same time. Now it'll probably end up being Christmas, but I theoretically, the way my mindset works is I will want to buy. I'm going to buy Luke, Leia, Han, Chewie, and Vader. I'm going to buy those. And when I buy them, it'll probably be, all right, I'm just going to save up a chunk of money and just buy them. As opposed to buy this set, and then I'll buy one here, and then I'll buy one here. I guess I'm different than some people, but...
You were different than a lot of people.
I guess so. But I have my list going on Amazon, so that's what's important.
Yes.
But I'm excited about it. So welcome to This Week in Our Collective Heads, or as we call it, Tweotch. I'm Patrick.
I'm Kevin.
Yep. And so, again, episode 2, glad we got 13 subscribers so far. It's cool. That's cool for just starting channel.
And for those of you who are not subscribed, please do so.
Right there.
We will keep doing this thing. And we'll talk about important stuff like the transition from Steve Jobs to Tim Cook at Apple. The way
that was years ago. That's not the transition.
But now they have this pencil.
Pencil? No, we're talking about Nintendo. Nintendo had a transition.
Nintendo had a transition.
Yeah.
But this week, Apple TV is gonna play games.
Yes.
Sort of.
It's gonna play Disney Infinity. Will be playable on the Apple TV, which this kind of goes into the weird naming conventions similar to Nintendo, how they don't understand you need separate names for things. Your other Apple TVs won't be able to run these games. Right, it has to be the new 64 gig.
The original Apple TV had its 100 installed apps, and that was it. There's no access to the store. You can't delete anything that's on there because Apple knows best.
It's funny. I actually asked I was over at my in-laws' house, and they have Apple TV, and we were looking at all the older Apple TV, obviously, and all of the different channels, and I asked them questions that I thought were logical, like, are there other channels that are on there? I don't know. They just have 100 apps. They have National Geographic and all these other things, and it's just this mess of. To me, it was just this huge list of apps as opposed to just what you want. Yeah. Like you said, Apple knows best. But yeah, you'll be able to play those on the Apple TV. You'll be able to play games, which to me, it kind of goes, now we're kind of blurring the lines where it used to be you had gaming systems that were trying to inch their way into the entertainment side of the house. Now you have the entertainment side of the house saying, you can play games on us too.
Yeah, and we'll even give you a controller, which there's never been an official Apple controller until now.
There wasn't.
It's a Wiimote kind of, like it has motion controls and you turn it sideways and...
I think they were good. They're definitely trying to hit up the casual market. They're trying to hit what the Wii did last time, and to say
good luck with
that. There's a reason. People don't realize this. So Nintendo's life cycle for systems is 4 or 5 years, and that's it. Mm-hmm. So NES to SNES was about a little over 4 years. If you look at this, NES to SNES was just this short little time. SNES to N64, same thing. N64 to GameCube, same thing. GameCube to Wii, same thing. 4 to 5 years. Look it up. With Wii comes along, 8 freaking years. 7.5 years, maybe, close to 8 years. Why? Because it kept selling.
Yeah, well, for the for the first 2.5 years, you couldn't find them.
No, you couldn't.
And I mean, at the end of that, you would only have 2 more years to sell them. So, and people continue to buy them, and that's why there's that weird little spike in the middle.
Yeah, they continue to buy them over and over and over again. Then they had enough. Nintendo had enough gumption and intelligence to say, let's not rebrand, but let's repackage this thing and make a different version. So you have the smaller ones, which was what. I'm curious with the new NX that's so the new NX that they're talking about, there's that's not a rumor. There's a patent out that Nintendo has patented a console that has no disk drive. Mm-hmm. And people are saying, that this is probably the NX. It could be. If it is, it really shows how much of a new world we're going to be in if Apple TV is playing games and the NX is playing games and neither one of them has a disk drive. It's very different than what we've been used to. And that being said, I don't think it is. But go ahead, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Well, I've heard a lot of people talking because anytime Apple does anything, there are going to be headlines like, "Is this the end of?"
Everything
similar product to what Apple's doing.
Everything.
And so there were headlines of, is this the end of consoles, which no
not
no it's not. We've talked about that.
No,
but the limit on an app for the new Apple TV, the new one, mind you, is 200 meg.
Wait, I don't. Oh, that can't be for the game though, because the game's Disney Infinity on PlayStation is 25 gig, I think. So
so I don't know. I don't even know how that's going to run, and they haven't said anything about it. It's just in the notes. 200 meg limit.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
That's not going to be for games unless they're going retro, but they're not because Nintendo won't let them. So
well, hell, I mean, how much was? I mean, the Mega Man Legacy Collection was a gig and a half.
Yeah, it was a gig. Now there's other reasons why it's a little more bloated than what it could have been, because we're now in a time frame where we don't worry about space as much. Where before you had to look at the format. We're getting to the point where it was last generation that we started doing this. Before in gaming, it was we have X amount of space to fit this game on. Cram it all in there. What can you do? The Sega logo took up, like the Sega opening screen. I don't know if you know about this. The Sega took up a giant chunk for that audio.
Really?
Yeah, it was a giant chunk of it. Yeah. Earthbound. I want to say it's like a third of that game is the audio. A third or 2/3 of the space is the audio in Earthbound. It's a ridiculous amount.
Music,
it's amazing.
Well, another piece of that is the original Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
If you take all the dungeons and lay them out, they all fit into each other because it needed to take up this chunk of data.
So what I think is actually going to happen in this, though, it's not going to be they're not going to have a 200 meg limit in regards to the games. I think that's just for apps. I think there's going to be a specific developer portion, the kind of what Apple does with everything else, where they're looking at, all right, what are we putting out on here? You're going to have a different way that the people are going to submit games on there, because 200 meg is not going to work for Disney Infinity is going to be on this, and Disney Infinity's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking, I think it's 15 or 20 gig. I can't remember. I'll have to look. But it's
maybe they get 200 meg per character.
Yeah, maybe. But that, along with the news about the new Nintendo patent, the new Nintendo patent will have no disk drive. I don't think that's the NX, though. I think that is them trying to come out with an even more economy Wii U. I may be completely wrong about this, but I have a hunch that that's what's going on, or they're going to have something specific to say, here's a light version, and we're going to come up, this is what I hope at least. It's either that, or here's a light version that's going to play a bunch of games that you can download for the NX, and here's the real NX. I have a feeling what they're going to be doing that's coming out is across the board, you're going to have your handhelds and your gaming console are going to essentially be on a similar OS, where you're going to be able to play the same thing on 3DS as you are on the Nintendo Wii, except it won't be Nintendo Wii U anymore. Right. That way, instead of doing cross-buy, you're just buying a game and it goes back and forth. Kind of think like Android can be on in multiple platforms. It's going to be like that. That's what I hope, at least. So then you're going to have it on. You're going to be able to download Wii Shop games, the WiiWare stuff, and then you'll also be able to have a Meteor one that has a disk drive. If they're not doing that, if they're coming out with a diskless next gen console, they're no longer in the race. They're doing their own thing, and you'll have to be addressed as that. We can't really compare them anymore.
Yeah.
Because people still compare this. They'll say Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo. Right now, they're already kind of doing their own thing. If they don't get back into what they're doing, they're going to continue on their niche and continue on whatever they want to do.
The odd thing about it is that while they're doing their own thing, the Wii U coming out, it was a rushed release, and it came out right around the time that they announced the other consoles, so about a year ahead. So while they're not directly competing, they are still making decisions that are aware of the rest of the market. They are,
but I think they did that because they thought the third parties were going to come to the Wii U.
They hoped.
And Assassin's Creed came there. Zombie U was on there. So you had third party stuff that was coming out, but it wasn't as much. I think that they were really trying to drum up people to do it, and I think that's why they were trying to still play that game. I don't think they're going to do it anymore, though. But then again, it just depends on what the new president feels.
Yeah, and that brings us into our second topic.
Yeah,
is that Nintendo now has a new president. Iwata passed
2 months ago.
About.
Yeah.
And Kishiwara is now, I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Make fun of our pronunciation down there.
Yeah, in the comments. And so he's taking over.
Yeah.
And I find it a bit disturbing that the most recent picture that the internet has been able to find of this guy is from the GameCube era.
Yep.
So
other than that, he hasn't done any public appearances. I'm sure you could find some random photo, but
okay. But my point is that PlayStation has Shuhei, and then both Phil Spencer and who's the captain?
Who, Major Nelson?
Major Nelson, yeah. I got his rank wrong. Again, make fun of me in the comments. But yeah, they have these forward facing. Here we are, and they're approachable, and that's part of the thing that Nintendo's been looking for because, frankly, Reggie's not.
No, they hired him to be.
He's supposed to be. He makes these comments about VR. Like, he goes out on the floor at E3 and says, "Yeah, well, VR, nobody cares about that, right?" And that's not the point.
Yeah,
this is an exciting thing and a new direction that at least part of the industry is going, and he dismisses it outright.
Yeah,
and I feel like hiring another 65-year-old man who doesn't seem to be connected in any way socially indicates. Because a lot of us thought that if Miyamoto took over, then who knows what happens. But if they put forward somebody else who did what Reggie was supposed to do, which is bring this whole thing into a new dimension, shows the new face of Nintendo.
Exactly. And instead we get the old face of Nintendo.
But it's a different old face.
But it's he was the thing that interests me about him is that, or not, kind of makes me uneasy, is that he was a banker for 30 years, and by that I mean banking. Then he was the CFO and for the Pokemon company
before that spun off,
and he was that he then moved from there for less than a year. Less than a year was president of that company before it was bought out, and then had some kind of minor stuff that he was doing in Nintendo. He's obviously good enough at what he does in regards to management that they've kept him along since 2002. So the 13 years just kind of being... That's why you don't have a thing since GameCube, though. It's because he's been behind the lines the entire time.
Right.
But... I think from a business standpoint, from a business planning standpoint, I think he's probably great. He's probably going to have a really good outlook on the business side of it. But when you get him up, and Iwata wasn't the most charismatic guy, but he would do the Nintendo Directs and everything, and he had fun with it. Yes. He had a lot of fun with it. I mean, even the last one, the puppets and everything, which people were joking about, I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of their whole presentation was the puppets and the N63, N64.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, so what about this? This is something that just occurred to me.
Yeah.
What if the president will not be the face of Nintendo? What if they have somebody else? Because
if we get rid of Reggie, I'm okay with that. Reggie. My problem with Reggie, and I could go on a huge tirade about this. My problem with Reggie is
that's what we have a podcast.
I guess that's
Feel
what
free.
This is for. So Reggie, not only does he dismiss things, and it's better just to not even mention them than to dismiss them.
Yeah.
He has historically either dismissed things that I don't care how big of a portion of your fan base wants it. Don't dismiss them. You're belittling a fan base. He did that for years when it came to Earthbound. For years, people would go up to him and say, "When's Earthbound?" Well, we're not really interested in that. That's not really a big. That's not really a big deal. And he would say that's not really a big deal. That's not really important to us. We don't think that people really want it. The person who's going to buy that game wants it, and we were in a. It's not like we were back in the late '80s and early '90s, and well, for Nintendo, even the late '90s, cartridges cost a lot of money to make. You're in discs, you spit them out. They don't cost that much money to make. You're talking 30, 50 cents per disc. They cost nothing. Then downloadable, okay, that costs you nothing as well. So you have a little bit of development time to get it emulated. Get Earthbound out there. They thankfully have, but for years they could have, but they chose not to.
And not only that, but the people who are still holding on to Nintendo, you have a rabid and passionate fan base who wants to be there with you. A lot of us who don't like the direction that Nintendo's been going, and those of us who, I mean, all of us grew up with Nintendo.
Yeah.
And I mean,
the 30th anniversary just turned around. The 30th anniversary of Mario Maker. So
Mario Maker is like the levels and the tributes. We want to be there with you.
Yeah. And
so for the head of that and the attention given being dismissive of our opinions is really hard to deal with. Yeah. And that's why there are a lot of, I don't know, lapsed Nintendo fans that are no longer, well, yeah, I mean, I used to like Nintendo, but they're not listening. They're not paying attention. And even if you come off with a politician statement of, we know that this is a thing. We know that you were excited about this. We'll see. Yeah. Even that is better than to be dismissive.
Yeah. If you're being asked directly, what do you think about this? Then you have to mention it. But you can do it in a more diplomatic way than he has done. And we're now in an era where you can come out with a game and sell. How much Rogue Legacy and Shovel Knight? You have these smaller indie games where those guys turned a huge profit. Binding of Isaac. There are a lot of games that are smaller scale. That there's a niche market out there. There are people who will buy these. You can sell it for less than the AAA titles and then go from there. this is a kind of shorter episode today, but what do you guys think of Nintendo's future? Again, we're talking about Nintendo's future, but what do you think about Nintendo's future, the discless, the idea of having no physical media? Apple's going to be doing it. Nintendo sounds like they're going to be doing it in some way, shape, or form. So what do you guys think of that? Do you think Nintendo's going completely without physical media? Is that going to be the new thing? Everything downloaded? What do you think?
Hard to say.
Hard to say.
I mean, a lot of us already have gone digital. That, however, is a discussion for an entirely separate podcast.
Yeah, we'll talk about that soon, though.
This has been This Week in Our Collective Heads. I'm Kevin. You can find me on Twitter at SEBBAL, Sabal. I won't spell it again. I probably will. Or you can find us collectively on Twitter at Tweotch.
Yep.
And
you can find us on Facebook at Tweotch. We're Tweotch everywhere. So Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, it's all Tweotch. Twitch, except it's Tweotch Gaming. Tweotch was already taken. But anyways, so find us on all that. Like, subscribe, and tell us what do you think. What do you think is going to happen with discless media? Are we going without physical media now? Are we going back to cartridges? There's a slot in the NX.
Slot. Yes, and also let us know what you think Steve Jobs would think of Apple now.
Yeah,
he would not be happy.
What would Steve Jobs think of Nintendo now?
Ooh. Even better. Sound off in the comments.
Yeah, tell us what you think.
So thank you.
Have a good one.
We will see you next week.
Night.